I think we're ready to rock. It's 6 o'clock on the dot, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining our virtual learning series. This month's topic is going to be transition from student to clinician. So we have Dr. Ayub on. He is going to give a little bit of background on himself, and y'all will get to kind of come along on the journey of what his transition has been so far. As he's joined the practice there in Minnesota. So I'm going to go through and have our three guest speakers introduce themselves. Dr. Ayub, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Ayub. I just started with Aspen on June 21st, so it's been almost a month now. I went to dental school at the University of Minnesota, and I also did my undergraduate at the University of Minnesota. And also born and raised in Minnesota, so I must really like it here.
Awesome. Dr. Ishmael, how about you?
My name is Hassan Ismail. I am a practice owner with Aspen. I own 4 practices. I have about 15 years of experience teaching at the University of Minnesota. And I'm serving at the board of dentistry. I am the president of the board of dentistry in my second term. But here I am.
Awesome. And what's the connection between you and Dr. Ayub? Is he in one of your practices?
Dr. Ayub is an associate in my practice in Brooklyn South in Minnesota.
Awesome. Thanks. Just so we can connect the dots for everyone and they can follow along as we ask those questions. So, and then last but not least, Josh.
Hi, everybody. I'm Josh. I'm the Director of Operations for Minnesota and the Dakotas. I've been with the company almost going on 13 years. So part of my job is I get the pleasure to partner with these great doctors. So I'm excited to meet everybody and hope to answer some questions today.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So, Dr. Ayub, you're going to take us on your journey. You're going to walk us through all things going from dental school student to practicing clinician now.
Sure.
We're going to start, and you kind of touched on it, but why Minnesota? How did you choose Minnesota when you were looking about where you wanted to practice once you graduated?
Yeah, like I said, I was born in Minnesota, and I went to school for both college and dental school here. So I've always really liked this state. I've never really had plans of leaving Minnesota. So when it came time to search for a job, I started kind of looking very locally. I knew Dr. Ishmael. He's kind of been a mentor to me while I was in dental school. So I reached out to him. He kind of, accepted me with open arms, had me come in and check it out. And then that's how I didn't really have to search too far. I think I found something very close by for me.
Awesome. Well, that led me to my next question. So why Aspen Dental?
Well, I think a lot of us can relate, or maybe some of us can, but we as dentists, especially in dental school, we really know we learn dentistry well, but you don't really know too much of practice management. You don't really know how to run a business. That really doesn't get taught much in dental school. So something that was really important to me was having that support, having people to turn to ask questions to, and then also the mentorship of being an associate, having somebody there who can help me with the clinical side of things as well. So not only do you get that support from like a practice management standpoint, you also get it from clinical side too. So it was really all encompassing, and I thought Aspen, while I was searching, Aspen was a good fit for that. And after starting, I still think it's a great fit for that.
Awesome. So when did you officially sign, so to say, with Aspen Dental or accept a position with Dr. Ishmael within his PC?
So I, crossed the T's and dotted the I's in September of last year. So as I think about 8 months before my official start date.
Okay. So what kind of has gone on between that time?
So, the biggest thing was I actually have my degree now, which is exciting. But while I was there, I still got to meet the team, because I know Dr. Ishmael, he owns 4 practices, and each practice has its own doc, they call it an MCD, who's in charge of that office. So I got the opportunity to come out to several like dinner and learns, and like I would get invited to their doctor dinners. So I still got, I got to meet the team. I got to meet the staff at Brooklyn Center. I went in and shadowed a couple times. So I felt by the time I got there, I'd already kind of had a little bit of an orientation with the offices and the team and kind of how things work around Aspen.
Awesome. So Josh, I'm going to go ahead, Doc.
So this is awesome. Actually, I just want to say it's funny because today is one of my doctor group dinner as well. So we're taking time off to do this. But I want to ask Dr. Ayub, since you signed the contract, I tried to kind of welcome him and get him acclimated as much as I could. So Dr. Ayub, how many meetings did you have until now so far, meeting doctors, team building activities as well, for my group and for the office that you joined?
So I think I attended maybe 4 or 5 doctor dinners. There were some CEs sprinkled in. I know even when I was a second year dental student, Doc invited me out, and I practiced placing implants on a typodont, um, which I thought was really cool. I had no idea what an implant was. The first implant I ever placed, um, and yeah, I also got the opportunity to meet like the Brooklyn Center team. I would go in and I shadowed there. I got to meet the staff, so there was really no like new faces by the time I actually started.
Awesome. I think that is amazing how y'all have kind of built a relationship and bond even prior to getting your license. So Josh, I'm going to kick it over to you and ask kind of what on the operations side the interview process looks like and what that transition is for those students that are waiting to start until they become licensed.
Yeah, it's great. And thanks, Carmen. So yeah, I mean, we start interviewing very early. I mean, I think there's some students that I've met even in their 3rd years and definitely in their 4th year as well too. So, we really want you, Dr. Ishmael and Dr. Ayub are perfect examples. We want you to see what we're about and really get an opportunity to come into the culture and understand. You get some fantastic mentors like Dr. Ishmael, and you can be mentored all the way through, which is awesome. So, when we start interviewing you, we want you to see an office, come to an office, be able to meet the teams, see kind of what a day-to-day operations is about, and then you just meet with us, and we really come up with that perfect location to partner you with that mentor, kind of like Dr. Ayub and Dr. Ishmael have done.
Awesome. And piggybacking off of that, I heard something about a study club, like book club, and assisting on implant cases. Dr. Ishmael, do you want to share a little bit about that?
You cut off a second. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so I heard something about a book club, like study club,
yeah.
and then
Yeah,
can you share
actually, all my associates, I try to have them do this because what I like to do for my doctors is not to hold them to grow from a skill standpoint only, but also from a leadership standpoint. That's very important to me. So, for example, Dr. Ayub and I, since he signed, we assigned him a program starting with reading a book, and those books, the sequence of books is based on training that I had in leadership in an institute in Boston about 10, 15 years ago. And it was very beneficial and life-changing for me. So what I had Dr. Ayub to do is read the first book and then give him some time to finish it, of course, with his school and everything. And then we will assign a day when we have a phone call together and discuss that book and what we learned from it and how we can apply it in a clinical setting. And then based on that discussion, we will assign the next book. How many books did we read together, Dr. Ayub?
I think we read about 5 books.
So those 5 books are not randomly selected; they are intentionally selected, and they have, affect, I feel, into how to lead your team and how to be a better team member. And do you remember, Dr. Ayub, a situation in the office? Like, he had been only 1 month, and we had to refer one time to a couple of those books. Do you remember the situation? Can you tell me the story?
Yeah, I know. Well, one of the books that we read was about grit. Just kind of, I mean, every new associate, anybody who starts a new job, you're going to face kind of growing pains, things that you're not used to. And some days are going to be better than other days. And I was having, a day where I was a little down on myself. I didn't think a procedure went as well as I wanted it to go. And we had a talk where, we referenced that book on grit, it's not always going to be smooth sailing, and you just kind of have to, take it in stride, learn from the experience, but it's not, don't get too demotivated, and just keep pushing forward, keep that end goal in mind.
And Doc, Dr. Ayub, we just had someone in the chat say they couldn't hear you very well. So if you could speak up a little bit, that would be great.
Okay.
And then y'all please share in the chat. Thank you, Grace. If you can't hear him still, we'll make sure y'all can hear all the wise words he has to share.
I can try to speak a bit louder. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Okay, so next question. So now we're through dental school. You signed a letter of agreement with Dr. Ishmael. What did you do in that break time between graduating and waiting to become licensed?
Yeah, so I encourage everybody after you graduate, this will probably be the only time until you retire where you're going to have like 6 weeks of absolutely nothing, no responsibility. And at least in Minnesota, I wasn't able to get my license until about a month after graduation. So for me, I took a big trip to Colorado. I spent just north of 10 days down there, just hiking and, enjoying the nature. And I also just spent some time with my family. I drove home and spent, like a week or two there at a time, just kind of enjoying that time where you don't have any stress or any responsibility.
Awesome. So what did like the licensure process look like? Did someone at Aspen Dental like help you with that? Did you have to submit everything before you went into that waiting for 4 weeks?
Yeah, so I went on my state board's website and I printed off the documents for licensure, and I completed all of those, and then I had to wait until my graduation, and then I took my official transcript, and that's how I completed my application. And I drove down to the board's office, and I handed it in person because I didn't want anything to get lost in the mail. So I wanted to have that all squared away. I think
Awesome.
we're getting rained on a little bit.
Oops. Find shelter. We're really going with them on a journey tonight,
Yeah.
y'all.
I'm gonna hang out like under here.
Yeah, I'll let you get
I'm good
situated. Josh, we'll ask you kind of what that looks like from the operations standpoint of like licensure credentialing team, how we kind of help assist in that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we have an awesome team, and any of you that join us will get a chance to probably meet one of our guys, Greg Drone. He's amazing, and he really makes it very simple for you to walk through the process. He tells you exactly what it looks like. He's in constant email communication. He's asking us for things, so you're gonna have somebody really pretty much walk you through the whole entire step. And I think Dr. Mo can definitely attest to that.
Yeah,
He's
I can
he's
speak to
emailing
that
you.
too.
Yeah, tell us kind of your experience, Doc.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention this. I started to get rained on, but Greg did reach out to me, and he, I was in my trip in Colorado at the time, and he was nice enough to send me some things over DocuSign. Like I would email him my responses. He would fill it all in. He'd just send it to me to be signed electronically. Like, he made that process of onboarding. There's a lot of things to sign when you're dealing with insurances, and you're dealing like with all the like the support that you're getting through Aspen, like your malpractice insurance and all the forms that need to be signed before. So he made that process really streamlined for me.
Yeah, we take a lot of it out of your hands, which is nice for you because you got a lot of things that you're worrying about, whether you're moving or whatever that is, or even just taking a vacation like Doc, right? So you got an opportunity to let us handle a lot of that for you. So we really try to make it as simple as possible.
For sure. Thanks for sharing that, guys. So now you're licensed. At that point in your journey, you became licensed, you received your license, you started officially about a month ago in the office. What has that first month looked like for you, Dr. Ayub?
It's been great. I feel like, well, you start off the first about week and a half, you have online training with about 20 other docs who are new to us. So you guys get all put in a cohort, and then you spend about 2 to 3 hours online. You have great guest speakers who come on, and we learned a lot about like scheduling. We had a couple of treatment planning courses, some denture best practice courses, lots of stuff that we see a lot in Aspen. The training felt very fine tuned to what the average Aspen dental patient is like. So I think they did a really good job with that. And then the time that you're not, doing the online training, then you either shadowing or you're at your owner doc's discretion of what procedures you do that day. So me and Doc sit down every day, and we look at the schedule and they're like, hey, you do this patient, do this patient, do this patient, and then like something that would be a little more challenging, he's like, here, how about you come assist me, or you shadow me while we do this procedure together.
Awesome. Dr. Ishmael, what would you like to add? Kind of what does your clinical training look like from a practice owner perspective?
I think you're on mute, Doc.
Oh, yep, you're muted. We can't hear you. You just hit unmute. I think it's in the top right. Just got weather delay, a little technical difficulties.
Right.
This is
I will say
yeah.
that it feels like it's very much at my pace and my comfort. Like he pushes me enough where I feel like I'm able to grow, but he's not going to make me do something that I'm not comfortable with. He's always there to be kind of like that backup and that safety net. He's had to bail me out of an extraction, which is good to have somebody who's there to who's comfortable, confident, and who's willing to help.
Yeah, that's awesome. Doc, did you get a chance to find the mic button to unmute? Might have to pop out and back in.
Yeah.
Josh, what has it looked like from the operation perspective for Dr. Ayub's first month, or any doctor that joins kind of the Minnesota
I
Dakotas
think
team?
it's awesome. Yeah, great question. It's awesome because we're seeing like everybody right now start to come in because everybody's graduating and getting their license. So I think what's really cool is to watch the transition. Oh, there you are, Doc. You're back.
Yep.
Okay. So now I have an echo. Is there an echo, or you guys are okay?
We can hear you. Yep.
Okay, so what I want to say about the what my goals is to help the doctor to get as comfortable as possible with handling their schedule, and to push them as much as they allow me to, without pushing their limits. So, like Dr. Ayub said, we will look at the schedule and decide that some of those procedures that will be done by Dr. Ayub with minimum supervision, and there is some procedure that I will shadow him doing. There is a procedure that he will shadow me doing, or he will assist me doing, and there will be procedure that he will just discuss it with me. So, for example, we had a full mouth extraction the other day, and it was a little bit more than what Dr. Ayub was in initial training ready to, jump in. So we decided, okay, let's discuss the anesthesia plan first. And then after we discussed, he went ahead and numbed the patient. And then I let him started. I was assisting him. We were talking through the procedure, and then we switched chairs. He became my assistant, and I became doing the procedure. And then we are looking at what we can do differently from each other and learn from each other. And I feel that was very beneficial for both of
Yeah.
us to be very close and provide very good service to our patient as well. I remember Dr. Ayub after the procedure, he was like, I asked him, "What do you think?" And he was like, "This looked like a lot like a residency to me."
Yeah, it did feel like it still does feel like a residency.
That's nice that you kind of have that person, like you said, safety net to fall back on or to turn to, ask those questions until you really feel comfortable, get your footing, get your timing. That's great. I'm glad to hear that it's going so well for both of y'all in the clinic. Josh, what did you want to add?
No, I just think it's awesome because obviously I'm a different bystander, right? I'm not clinical side, but I love to watch when you walk by a room and I see a lot of new doctors and their mentor doctor and them are in a room together like doing a procedure, which is just really cool to see because I know there's a lot of questions for you guys when you come out of a school and you don't know procedures and you want that person there. So when I walk by and I'm able to see, like Dr. Mo is able to see some pretty extensive procedures that he probably wouldn't get exposure to in some private practices even because he's starting to see implants and clear aligner therapy and all these great things. So I think it's really cool from an operations point just to see the journey of how you can really jump in and really watch and help assist in those procedures. Doc, you're 1 month in and you've seen probably some pretty awesome procedures already, right?
Yeah, doc places like a couple implants a day, it seems like.
Yeah.
Wow, that's some great exposure.
And I want to say that Dr. Ayub experience is something that I will continue to work with to help him to grow. And I have done this before with other doctors. In fact, Dr. Ayub is replacing the associate that I had in the practice who was recently promoted to a lead dentist and MCD in the Monticello practice. And Dr. Miller went through the same thing with the training. He stayed as an associate for over a year. And then when the opportunity to become a lead dentist, he became the lead dentist and very successful in the practice in Monticello. He always went through reading the books and the leadership books, and we had this discussion about them as well. And we jumped into our first extraction and second extraction, and then he became self-sufficient at some point. And then the next thing for Dr. Ayub, and I want you to listen to this, Dr. Ayub, is to start your online implant training and get enough tooth extraction under your belt so we can send you to Chicago to have the in-person implant training.
Exciting. So that's just what I was going to ask. Now we kind of know what the first months looked like. Like now, what does it look like beyond? Dr. Ayub, you said you were doing modules, online things. You're going to be going to Chicago for training.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, so in that cohort of about 20 people, we are all going to Chicago next week. So I'm actually being flown out on Sunday to spend a week in Chicago, where we'll have like in-person classes to kind of continue our training, as well as network with other doctors at Aspen.
Awesome. So for those who don't know, our TAG headquarters are stationed there in Chicago. So when Dr. Ishmael's referencing implant training or Dr. Ayub's doing his new doctor training there with his cohort, that's where they go, and that's where all of that takes place in our new state-of-the-art clinical facility that they can do some hands-on stuff in. My next question was for Dr. Ishmael. As the practice owner, what is your role in the transition from student to clinician? I know you talked about how you're invested 100% in the growth of your associates, and you've shared a little bit about your past associates, how they're now leads. Can you speak to that, please?
Yes, as I mentioned, I am just as strong as my team. because I believe that dentistry is like a team sport. So I am invested 100% in helping my doctors to grow and provide them with the training, the advice, the support. And I can speak about myself, like having 15 years of experience teaching dental school, being at the board, mentoring a lot of dentists. But actually, Aspen foster an environment where as an owner, I am vested in making those doctor, associate, or MCD as strong as possible clinically and from a leadership standpoint, to help my group to become a strong group, both from a patient service and financially as well, and for the team, because nowadays you have to help your team to have good experience so you can retain them as well. I want to say that at this point, I would like to open the microphone, if you allow me to, for questions. As I mentioned, we are at my group dinner today. So if there's any question from the attendees, we would love to entertain and answer those questions.
Yeah, and the chat's open for y'all, so feel free to ask questions there. You can drop them there. I'll keep an eye on it. If you have any burning questions, now we've kind of heard what the interview process looked like. Now that once he signed, Dr. Ayub, and then waiting to become licensed, what that process was, his first month in clinic, where we're at now. One question I do have, Josh, that gets asked frequently is, what's your role now as they move forward, like touch bases, or what does it look like for you operationally, your relationship with Dr. Ayub?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think, to not to brag, Dr. Ishmael, he's got a great mentor. So, Dr. Ishmael makes our job very easy. But, we're here, for anything that you need. Dr. Mo knows that he can call us or text us or whatever I can help him with. And, we're touching base now. Now is the time where we get into a situation where, Doc's starting to learn clinical, but he's also starting to learn a lot more too, right? There's, team management, things like that. So we're here to answer all those questions. That's what we do for doctors from an operations standpoint. We help them with the other stuff as well too. So yeah, we're going to be touching base with Dr. Mo. We see him in the visits, and we're here to do whatever we need to help him grow.
Thanks, Josh. I don't see any questions in the chat yet. Don't be shy, y'all. I'm sure there are some. Here we go. What is the ownership model look like if a dentist wanted to be an owner dentist like Dr. Ishmael? Dr. Ishmael will ask you, and then Josh will have you share too.
I think Doc might be frozen.
Oh,
I'll go
Josh,
first.
if you want to take
I'll
it.
go first. Yes. So I think there's a lot of ownership in Aspen is awesome. Right. There's a lot of different ownerships models that we have. The two big ones are what we call we have an acronym for everything in Aspen. We always make jokes, but we call it a practice owner, or POP. That's number one, and that's a single office owner. Like Dr. Ishmael, he owns these practices. There's another piece too that we have, which is partnerships, right? And Dr. Ayub may come in after 2 years and be really proficient running his own practice and say, you know what, Dr. Ishmael, I'd love to become a partner with you in one of your practices. So that's kind of the way that we have ownership. But the beauty is we have 1,033 offices throughout the country too, right? So there's ownership opportunities depending on where you want to go and where you want to live eventually. You can have ownership in many different places, or partnership in many different places. So yeah, as you get proficient, we talk to you through that and help you become ownership. If that's something you want, we help you with ownership piece.
I think Josh, as a director, what I'm hearing is the biggest thing is to be vocal, to be an advocate for yourself and share what your interests and goals are with you and the practice owner so that y'all can help assist in that process.
And I have a great example too. I have a doctor who's been with us 2 years. He moved and took a really big chance in moving out from Washington to our area. And he's been with us just about 2 years. He's implant trained, been running his own practice, helping us run another practice. And he raised his hand and said, I want to be an owner somewhere in the company. So we're getting ready to open Billings, Montana in our territory here in the next 90 days. And we had his first ownership call with him. So he's just 2 years out, already doing some great things with our organization and helping, giving some great patient care. And he's looking at purchasing his first practice in 2 years. So it's really awesome. And he's willing to move anywhere in the country. So that was a big piece.
I have a couple of questions here that I feel like I can help.
Yep,
Uh,
please do,
the,
Doc.
so the first question is, what's an ownership model look like for a dentist wanted to be an owner like me? So I think the first thing is that you will need to master the clinical skills, which I think it is the easy part. Once you master the clinical skill and you become proficient at dentistry, you will be able to gain the trust from your team and eventually the trust of your patients as well. Um, so you need to grow also from a leadership standpoint. And this is why I try to grow all my associates. I'm hoping all of them will eventually become partners, or maybe they will vent out to become owners by themselves, which is fine as well. So that's what this is the first question I want to be an owner like me. So, and then once you have those skills, the opportunities are there. It can be in the same state you are at, or it can be moving to a different state to follow the opportunity. And then the second question is newly graduated dentists, about the books that I recommend. I'm going to mention 2 books. And by the way, you can reach to me even if you are not working with Aspen, or I am the president of the board of dentistry. You can go to the Minnesota Board of Dentistry website and email me, and I'll get the email and I can answer your question as well. Or you can go to the Brooklyn Center Aspen office and you can give me a call as well. So the first book that I recommend is The 5 Dysfunction of a Team. The author is Patrick Bencioni, and that's the first book that Dr. Ayub read. And I think that's a very valuable book. I feel like I read this book maybe 20, 25 times. Every time I read it, I get more out of it. The second book that I recommend is The Ideal Team Player. It's the same author. And I think those both books are important for anybody that works in a team. And like I said, dentistry now is not a one man or one woman show. It used to be actually 100 years ago or 50 years ago a one man show. Now it is not. It is not, definitely. It is more diverse. There is actually more female dentists graduated from dental school than male. It's a team environment where you, your hygienist, your dental assistant, your office manager, your front desk staff have to be at the same page to give your patient the optimal experience.
Thanks, Dr. Ishmael. Dr. Ayub, this one's for you. Can you elaborate a little further on the new doctor journey and what Aspen is doing to help onboard, mentor, acclimate new grads into their positions?
Yeah. So this kind of started out with the 8 days of online training that I had when I first started working. So you get put into a cohort, and that's kind of like your new doctor journey cohort, where you meet with those people. You have lots of small group discussions with them online, and then you also attend classes online during the first 2 weeks of your onboarding. And then part of part of that new doctor journey is, shadowing and observing and kind of doing procedures in the office. And we kind of talk about what goes well and what goes, like, what we notice in our office, like what we like, and we had those discussions in our cohort. And then that new doctor journey, the first part of it concludes in Chicago, where we all go for a week, and then we have an itinerary from, I think, 8 to 5 for 5 days straight, where we're in classes. We have lots of hands-on demos. I haven't gone yet, so I don't know exactly, but the descriptions say that there's a lot of like online, or lots of like hands-on demos and lots of learning and classroom-based learning as well. And then also you get to meet and network with doctors from across the whole country, which is really cool.
I think one big thing too to add to that is, it's not just done after that 4 weeks. We also bring doctors back. When we're enrolling them, Dr. Ayub's going to go back in 6 months, right? And he's going to go back for a refresher. What's working, what's learned well, and that's not it, right? Like there's still more going on after that. So it's constant. Obviously, as dentistry is constantly changing, we're consistently pushing the bar to help train you guys and get you more and more acclimated to the team management stuff, the clinical things. So you're going to get more CEs and continued training than you would ever dream of, right?
I want to also add that in the first week, when you start, in the first month actually, you don't have a schedule that you are responsible for. It's all training to get you transition into the position, and the hope is at the fifth week, you will be able to run your schedule.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc. And then there's a question in the chat that you answered, Dr. Ishmael. Do you want to take that one? Does Aspen provide visas for Canadian citizens graduating from a U.S. dental school?
Absolutely. I think we have done this before.
A lot. I do it a lot. I'm doing quite a few right now. So yes, we do it all the time.
Yeah,
Josh, do you want to share? Yeah, do you want to share about that, Josh?
Yeah, I have doctors, that we've helped. Great example is a doctor that's with us right now. He's in another practice, came on as an associate MCD partner, and just became partner actually about 3 months ago. He went all the way he's a Canadian citizen. He's all the way. We actually helped support him and get his green card. So he's in the final stages of getting his green card. So this is something again, as Aspen being a huge network, we have people that help us handle this stuff. So this is something we do every day.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. So who would someone get in contact with for that? Would it be during the interview process with the recruiter? Josh, with you, like a director? How do they get that assistance or help along the way?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we interview, we talk about that, right? It comes up in the interview a lot, and it's probably a very asked question. So if there's specific questions, we have an immigration attorney, Juliana. She's amazing, and she answers pretty much. I can probably ping her and ask her a question right now, and she would answer it for me. So she's seen everything and done everything and knows the process. So we just walk you through it. You tell us exactly the situation, and we would tell you what that would look like and the time frames and things like that.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much for all the insight and taking us along your journey, Dr. Ayub. We'll wrap with one final question for you. Unless anyone else has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But Dr. Ayub, you kind of have a foot in both worlds. As a new graduate who recently began practicing, what advice would you give to dental students or docs that are waiting to start?
What advice would I give? I say keep an open mind and take things one day at a time. The real world is a whole lot different than dental school. And I think that finding a mentor who understands that is kind of crucial to your success. Take each day at a time. You're going to have ups and downs, and try not to get discouraged or down on yourself, and kind of savor those highs when they come, because they're just going to help you grow as a person and as a dental practitioner.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great advice. And this was lots of great information. It's so fun to see your guys' bond already in the short month that you've been with Dr. Ishmael in the practice, even though you guys started long before when you signed 8 months ago. So we're excited to see where you continue to go. And I will send an email to all of those on the call with these guys' contact information. So their emails, like Dr. Ishmael said, I'll include those books, and then I'll try to track down the list of all the books that they had. I know he spoke on those top 2, but I'll get those over to y'all. Are there any other questions for anyone? I see there was a question in there. When does someone reach out? Typically within 45 days of your start date for licensing. Dr. Ayub, would you say that is correct when you had someone reach out about licensing and credentialing?
Yeah, it's typically within 45 days. Yeah, that's about right.
Awesome. Josh, Dr. Ishmael, anything left to add?
No, I appreciate everybody's time today. I think it's, it's never too early to reach out to us now, and depending on where you're at in the graduate, but come shadow us if you guys are open to that. Like, see what it's all about. I know Dr. Ishmael welcomes shadows all the time, and we're happy to set you up with some good mentors.
Awesome. And Dr. Ishmael, I see you sent over more recommendations. Awesome.
Sure.
Great.
So,
Anything else to add?
I would love to mentor people reading through those leadership books in dentistry, especially the folks in Minnesota. I just have to have you read those books and have discussions so I can recommend the next book, because from there sometimes I deviate from the standard, but those books are must.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Everyone enjoyed it. They're saying thank you in the chat. So we'll let you get to your dinner. We appreciate your time, and I will send that follow-up email with all the information we discussed. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Thank you,
Sounds
everybody.
good. Thank you. Bye-bye.